entire trees denuded of all leaves by those caterpillars, but not a caterpillar on them, because a bird or a flock of birds has just found the tree and devoured every single one of them. It's one of those pirate flies, I think, on the water there, Craig. Sorry, can we just... Yeah. I think that's a pirate fly. It's on the water, pirate fly. Very good. Sorry, I had to do that. I've been wanting to see a pirate fly on the water for some time. Right, those are the minty green migrants. And as Rebecca says, it was necessary for me to put on a pirate voice when seeing a pirate fly on the surface of the water. Thank you, Rebecca. I'm glad you approve. I think, this time round, let's go across into the Mulwati and down towards Twin Dams that way. Maybe the cubs have come across here to play in the sand. I used to like playing in the sand. I still like playing in the sand. I just don't do it as often as I used to. Into the great valley of the Mlwamati drainage, the fighting waters. And I know everybody says the name of this drainage line differently, but Herbert and I in discussion, I said to him, what does Mulwati mean? He says, not a word. So I said, okay, well, what do you think it was? He says he thought that it was Mlwamati, that's this river, and Ugulwa is to fight, water, Mati, Mlwamati, the fighting waters. So perhaps at one stage of its existence it did have running fighting waters in it. It doesn't anymore. And so that's why I call it the Mlwamati. It makes sense to me. There are many rivers around here that have lost the meaning. I don't think we're going to get that. It's a redback shrike. Not with this light. Let's carry on. There are many rivers around here that have no meaning at all, because it's been either lost or mispronounced or changed or whatever else through history, which I think is quite sad. Elephant tracks all over the place. Just those 2 elephants that I've seen, but at least they are back, and they seem to be increasing in numbers. And I'm sure that's in response to the marula fruits that are around here. And I think slowly now, as the grasses have gone to seed, you can see all around us the grasses have gone to seed. I think that's going to bring the buffalo back and the zebra back from the plains of Gabbro up in the southern Manileti and the southern Sabi sand. You can hear a very cross bird. It's worth just having a little look around here. They've stopped being cross though. Can you hear that, everybody? That sounds like the call of the green-backed bleating warbler, or green-backed cameroptera. But I don't see no leopard that might be making them cross. Now Lisa, you're wondering about the drainage lines that I speak of. You want to know if they're man-made or if they're natural. These are all natural, and by drainage line, everyone, I just mean dry stream, basically. It's a line of drainage, and they're all entirely natural. And I don't know when they were carved out of this landscape, because it hasn't been wet enough for this kind of carving of water to take place for probably, I don't know, I'm going to go with 1,000 years. But maybe not quite that long. They may have flowed a little bit more in history, in recorded history. But I don't think a great deal. Recorded history in this area probably began about 100 years ago, really. 110 years ago, at the turn of the 20th century. Before there wasn't a great deal of writing going on here and very little in the way of permanent population. The odd hunter came wandering through during the 19th century, but it was so riddled with sleeping sickness and malaria that very few people survived.
Is out as well. Well, welcome back, guys. We've managed to find a beautiful spider that is busy carrying its egg case. Alright, so I think it is part of the wolf spider family. I don't know if there's any budding entomologists out there or that will know exactly which species of spider this is, but it is a really, really cool find. We were just looking underneath all the bark and looking for any signs of maybe scorpions or spiders exactly like this one, and this one popped out. Now, as you can see when it goes, I'm just trying to keep up with it. Oh, it's just dropped down, that the egg case actually follows it. Alright, so it's got its egg case still attached to it, and so therefore when it goes along, those little eggs are being carried with it, so it can protect its eggs from any sort of danger and make sure that the eggs are safe at all times, which is really incredible. Now, the interesting thing with these spiders is that when they actually spin this sort of web for their eggs, they actually have 8 different types of silk that they can spin, and it will depend on what they're doing, whether they're constructing the web or they're doing egg cases like this, will determine which kind of silk that they're actually producing. And I was doing a bit of research on spiders a few days ago, and I was reading an article where they reckon that a spider's web is very, very, very supple and is able to stretch huge amounts. And so they reckon that these spider webs can stretch by as much as 300 times, which means a single strand of silk, for it to break under its own weight, would have to be 80 kilograms, which is almost 200 pounds. Now imagine how heavy and how strong that is to be able to support that amount of weight in such a small single thread. So you can see why when they wrap the eggs around it, it's actually a really great place for a little baby spider to be born into. It's going to be very, very, very safe for them, and they're able to then, you know, have a sort of good start to life. But when I picked up this piece of bark, I'm just trying to see now if we can see any. There were a few termites running around. I don't know if Jean-Ray can pick that guy up there. Alright, and so there is one of the termite workers that we were talking about earlier. Sorry, Jean-Ray, I know it's difficult, but you can see it kind of moving over there. Now, this is a different species to the termites, to the ones that we were looking at in the mound. These are in all likelihood, they're called short-snouted termites, or rhinotermes, and these are guys that are more wood eaters, and they will often build these kind of sort of tunnels that are able to enclose themselves so that they can move up and down the tree and not be attacked. So you'll find often with trees these kind of soil-like tunnels going up and down, and that is exactly where they're from. Alright, is from the termites, as they protect themselves as they harvest bits of that wood. Alright, and like I say, it's only because we've turned this over that these termites have become visible. They were underneath this big piece of bark, and then eventually, as you know, we've turned it, they've now moved around a little bit. Unfortunately, they're not as settled as the spider, so they're moving around so much that it's really quite difficult to actually get a nice close-up of them. But really, really cool. It just shows you that if you actually have a look in all these little crevices, that you can often find really interesting things underneath these bark. Now we're discussing bark and trees, and James has asked, are there any types of plants that are keystone species in this area? Well, yes, there actually are. Probably the one that comes to mind while I'm standing here is the marulas. We have a massive fallen over marula to my right here. Now, these marulas form a huge part of this ecosystem. As we've been probably talking about over the last few days and weeks, is that these marulas at this time of the year start to fruit, and they become of vital importance to a number of animals. So you'll find things like elephants in particular will really target these, and so without this tree it becomes really tough for elephants. They don't get as much nutrients from the grass or plants, and so these are really one of those keystone species. Also, these marulas will form huge amounts of habitat for a number of bird species to nest in. You'll find a lot of insects, snakes that will often utilize them, and then there's also the predators. So this is one of the favorite trees that a leopard will hoist its kill, so it really, really, really is a species of tree that we need quite a bit of. In terms of grasses, grasses. There's quite a number of different grasses that we have. There's certain grass species that are really very, very tasty, and so without those you would end up in a system where there would be no grazing animals here. So we would get no zebra, no wildebeest, no impalas. So they really require very nutritious grasses, and so yes, those plants will shape this ecosystem, because if that grass wasn't here, we wouldn't get that movement of game, which wouldn't trample down certain plant species, and so we just get massive amounts of pioneer species like carrot seed grass or thatching grass, which I'll try and show you, that will basically grow and nothing will utilize them, and this area will become almost like a dead zone. So they also shape the landscape. And then there's a number of other trees that we do have around here. There's trees that are in riverbed systems that bind soil and stop massive amounts of erosion. So there's all kinds. So yes, there is quite a few that are key species within this particular system, but like I say, just in the area that we're in now, probably the marula is the most key of all of them. I was talking about grasses that are quite palatable now. This particular one here is called panicum, and it's a type of grass that grows here. Quite easy to identify. It's got this nice spread foliage with lots of little leaflets there and seeds, and this is really very, very sweet. You'll often find people when they're walking will pick this up and put it in their mouth and chew it, and you get a nice sweet kind of flavor from it, and so the animals absolutely love this. So wherever you find this, you're going to find wildebeest and zebra and the likes busy feeding off it. So this is always a good sign of a very healthy soil and a healthy ecosystem, and like I say, wherever this is, you're going to find a lot of those grazing animals. Right, so we're just starting to slowly kind of head down towards that riverbed or drainage line that I was talking about earlier. So as we kind of go down and I enjoy my piece of grass and we look for any further signs, we're going to go to James and see what he has for us.
This is very exciting, everybody. Look at that. I believe that to be the Prince Consort himself. Do you agree with me? Would that be the Prince Consort? Tingana? Ooh, there's a kudu alarm calling. Just listen to that, because we often talk about it. We seldom are able to actually let you hear it though. You hear that? Whoa! And he's calling, he's calling! I'm just going to call this in because I don't think it's been called in. Stations, there's a male leopard, adult male leopard, junction, Leadwood and Gari Main. Animal is mobile in a westerly direction. Hello, big fella. Who's on? Isn't that spectacular? I haven't actually stopped to have a good look at him yet. Okay, let's turn around. Isn't that special? And he's alarm calling, and no, he's not alarm calling, I mean he's territorial calling, and as soon as those kudu started to bark at him, he stuck his tail in the air, and that little flash of surrender. Ah, it's wonderful. And you all obviously agree with me that this is Tingana. And if you are perhaps a new viewer, that vehicle in front of us is another safari vehicle, of course, and they are just, you know, there are lots of safari lodges around here, and they're enjoying the sighting like we are. And Tingana has maintained that limp. He's got a very slight limp on his right foot. It doesn't seem to affect him at all. Keep going down here. Hello, Debbie. You're wondering why he would soar as he turned towards the kudu. Debbie, the only reason he would soar is to mark his territory. There's no other reason for him to do that. And he's not hunting. That's why he didn't worry too much about those kudu. Brilliant. You know what? I mean, we could so easily have missed him. We came down this drainage line. Right, let's follow him. He's going north onto Djuma. Inkomo. And I'm afraid nobody else seems to be allowed to follow him because we're the only ones from Djuma here. He's just marked his territory there. Now, many of you might consider that fairly strange behavior, but leopards will not, they will seldom hunt while they're marking territory. He's definitely in some state of, not agitation, but he's on a patrol. And that's why he's walking in the middle of the drainage line. I've watched leopards when they're hunting along a drainage line. They don't walk in the middle of it like this. They'll go either side because they want to maintain the cover. Let's see if he doesn't call again. He's walking straight to where those cubs were, so I wonder if he'd find them. I don't think he's a threat to them, to be honest. They have shared kills before. Let's just get next to him. He might also be looking for Karula. You know, I'm suspicious that she's coming back into estrus. So let me just get in front of him there, Craig. So close. Has he turned around? Can you see him?
He's right behind.
What's he doing?
He's standing. Yeah, he's doing that.
He's turned around. Okay. I'll turn around now. I'm just not going to move because I would quite like him to come back this way. He stopped right behind us. Go ahead, Orbs. I'm going to turn. Sorry, Orbs, I can't copy you. He's turned north up the Mlwamati. There we go. Yeah, I'm keeping an eye for them. I haven't found them, I'm afraid. There we go. Perfect. Tanis, a good question from you about territorial marking, and do all animals mark their territory? Tanis, they don't, you know. Many animals are not territorial at all. Elephants, for example, don't mark territory. Buffalo don't mark territory. Impala do some of the time when they're going into the rutting season, then they'll mark territory. But the cats, and with this sort of noticeable exception of the cheetah do mark, but they don't have very definite territories. But the rest of the cats are very territorial. Lions, leopards, extremely territorial. Hyenas, very territorial. Even the small cats, serval and caracal and African wildcat, they will be very territorial. Now, I'm interested in why he stopped here. Now, before he stopped, what I was waffling on about was the fact that I We witnessed a little bit of aggression between Karula and her cubs the other day. I'm beginning to wonder if she isn't perhaps coming into estrus, maybe. And I wonder if that's not what he's looking for. He's so close to us now. He's just giving Batman the beady eye there. Batman, how does that make you feel? All right, okay, good. When Craig says all right, it's like the rest of us leaping up and down for joy. Apparently Brent has got a squirrel tail that he'd quite like to show you. We'll stay with this leopard.
Look at this. Now, you can see that's an upset squirrel tail. And what would you do if you came home after a hard day of foraging for marula nuts, and in your home was the big fat leopard? And every time she moves her tail, like she just did, there we go. Look at him. He's very upset about having a leopard in his tree. Chip, chip. But she's completely ignoring him. And I was hoping now that it's cooled down a bit, she might be thinking about coming down the tree, but she doesn't look like she's moving, even though there's a squirrel chitting at her. Chit, 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 chit. And because she's not moving too much, the squirrel's not alarming too heavily, I'm quite sure she's aware of its presence. She's barely moved a muscle since we first saw her this afternoon. She's lying in the exact same spot. And as I said, the only thing that's changed is the squirrel, who's most upset, but doesn't seem to really know what to do, because it's not alarming a full alarm call. Imagine what's going through that squirrel's mind. Is that leopard alive? Is it alive? I think it's alive. I'm not sure. Oh, I don't want to take any chances, though. Now, as I said, there's quite a few holes in this marula, so I'm pretty sure one of them is that squirrel's home. Oh, Inkanyeni looks so relaxed. Lovely golden light filtering through onto the side of her face. Looking in very good condition at the moment. Sitting side saddle, one would say, not draped all over, and there's just her tail dashed out the back. Now, Leela says she thought that leopards were opportunists. Why does she not attempt the squirrel? Well, it's the risk and reward. It would be quite difficult to catch on a tree like that. The squirrels are very quick. Squirrels are normally the domain of young leopards, and she's got a full belly. And as I say, the risk of falling and the reward of one bite of a squirrel just are not appealing to her. And she is very full, and so far the squirrel, I suppose, not making too much noise, but it's just not worth exciting the squirrel if it got away. The amount of noise it would make would let everything know that she was here, and also just not worth the effort, a morsel of that size. Well, Not even a starter. Well, we've done a big circuit through Cheetah Plains, and we haven't seen much else, just normalists, and of course those lovely comb ducks, which you don't get to see too often. Poor squirrel. It's a lady squirrel, I think, not a boy squirrel. Now that flicking tail is a sign of distress. It looks confused. Every time Inkanyen's tail sort of just even blows in the wind, it gets a little bit more agitated. But we're going to sit here and see what happens with the squirrel and Inkanyen. While we do that, Tristan's got something that's got a lot more legs than the leopard in the tree.
Indeed we do, Brent. We have a beautiful big millipede. So not to be undone by Brent with his leopard in a tree, we spotted this millipede in a tree. So we're going to keep with the tree theme, and we've located this guy who's just moving around, checking. You can see those antennae are really moving quite a bit. They're looking, trying to see a way that it can move to the next branch. So what I'm going to do is probably put my hand out and just try and give it a hand. We'll probably just try and stretch it out. But actually, while I've just picked this up, there are some very interesting little parasites on this guy. So generally millipedes, given that they are so hard, the exoskeleton is really very solid. Sorry, the wind is blowing this tree all over the place. It is very difficult generally for parasites to get onto this. So particularly things like ticks, which will inhabit mammals, these guys very seldom suffer from that. But actually on this one, by the looks of it, I just want to turn him around and have a look. Just hold on. And actually there you can see they have a tick on them. Alright, and so sometimes what you will find is these little ticks will make their way onto the millipede, and they go into where the edges of the exoskeleton, where the joins are, and they can get into the flexible part there and pierce with their mouth parts, and are able to then feed off the juices or blood of this particular millipede. Sorry, he's not being very cooperative, he's busy turning on himself, but there you can see, unfortunately he's busy moving again. I'm going to try just open it out, but in all likelihood this would be one of the 3-stage life cycle ticks. Mostly in this area you get, well, we get 3 different types. We get a 1-stage, 2-stage and 3-stage tick life cycle, and so in all likelihood this is a 3-stage tick. The reason why is that the 3-stage generally latch on to a small host where they feed as a little nymph, and then slowly as they get enough food they'll then go through a molt and will become drop off and grow an extra set of legs, and then go back and find another host where they'll go up onto that, and then from there they drop off that host and grow their mouth parts and their reproductive organs. And so normally with the 3-stage life cycle ticks, like I was saying, they don't go onto small big animals to start. They only go onto small ones, and then as they get older, so they will find larger herbivores. The 1-stage and 2-stage life cycle ticks, they tend to go onto their food source, and the 1-stage stays on there for its whole life, so it actually molts on the actual animal and then just repositions itself. Leslie, you want to know whether this animal is toxic or poisonous. Yes, it is actually toxic. These millipedes contain traces of cyanide. Alright, and so really very little can actually eat them. There are only a very few or handful of predators for a millipede. So funnily enough, one of the mammals that can utilize millipedes is a civet, which is a nocturnal kind of cat crossed with a raccoon, and they will eat these guys quite readily. The other sort of big object that eats them is a scorpion. So scorpions are really fond of these. And then there's an insect called a millipede assassin. Alright, and they are also really well specialized and suited to eating these guys. There is one other animal, which is one of the big predators, that actually doesn't eat them but utilizes them, and no one's 100% sure why. But what happens is wild dogs will often tackle millipedes. They come and bite them, and then they roll around in them. So there must be some sort of scent on a millipede that maybe masks the scent of the wild dog, so when they're hunting, it's a lot easier for them to be able to run without being seen or smelt, should I say. Whereas without that, they may be the scent, because a wild dog is very pungent in its smell, gets picked up. Alright, so before these ticks crawl all over me, I'm going to put this little guy down and let him on his way. Now, the tree that he was crawling around in, so while we kind of go from that millipede, B. Wilson actually asked me whether I'm concerned about the parasites going on to me. I actually am. I don't particularly want any ticks on me. Ticks are horrible little things. All of the guys that have been doing bushwalk lately are absolutely covered in bites. I have little scars all over my legs from ticks, and so I really actually don't want to be bitten by any more of them. It's a lot of itching and a lot of discomfort, so we're going to try and avoid that. I actually just checked my hands now. There was no sign of those ticks. They were still on the millipede itself, and so we're all good. No worries there. But yes, I don't really want them on me. Like I say, tick is not a pleasant experience, and ultimately you can actually get very ill from ticks. You can get what's called tick bite fever, so not Lyme disease, but it is a dangerous disease. It's unfortunately not very pleasant to have lots of fevers and things like that. But we've avoided tragedy, we've avoided ticks, so we're going to go to Brent and see if his squirrel has avoided death.
The squirrel still has avoided death, but it's getting more and more agitated as Inkanyeni moves her tail a little bit more. So it's run out on a branch below her and keeps looking up. Oh, there we go. Every time she has a slight stretch or whatnot, the squirrel gets... Oh, now he could get very upset. No, I thought she might stand up for a second. She's just decided that her paw will be a very nice pillow. Oh. That poor squirrel, its heart rate must be going through the roof, and it seems to be confused about what to do. Oh, we've got something else arriving in the tree. Oh, I can't see it. I'll wait for it to move again. There's a little chin spot batis that's just landed in the same tree as the panicked squirrel and Inkanyeni. Oh, did it fly away? Shrama says, is it possible that the squirrel might have babies? That's why she won't leave. Oh, I think even if she doesn't, I think this is her roost, and she's come back. Her nest is in here, so she could very well have babies, or she could just be coming back for a snooze as the sun starts setting. I just want to see what happens if Inkanyeni stands up, how upset the squirrel will get. Well, it doesn't look like Inkanyeni's planning on moving anytime too soon. She's looking very, very comfy. Hope you guys are getting some fantastic screenshots of the lounging Inkanyeni. Where's that squirrel? She moved the other. Shame, poor squirrel. See how those little noises it's making? Not that full. Now, as you can see, Inkanyen's very, very comfortable, and J. Luke is wondering if I've ever witnessed a sleeping leopard fall. I have not. I've seen awake leopards fall while they've been playing and jumping about, but I've never seen or heard of a sleeping leopard falling out of a tree. Oh, she is so pretty. Absolutely exquisite, and that soft late afternoon light that's filtering through the clouds. Well, we're going to stick it out here, see if anything else happens between the panicked squirrel and Inkanyeni. In the meantime, let's go see what Master Henry is up to.
We've got a Wahlberg's eagle that's just very suspiciously watched Tingana the leopard walk underneath him. We're going to leave the Wahlberg's eagle. That's not a... Yes, it is. It is the Wahlberg's eagle, and it's got a limp. This is the pale form Wahlberg's... Oh, is it? Hang on a second. Sorry, before we carry on. That's not a Wahlberg's eagle, that's a Tawny. That's a pale form Tawny Eagle. That's really quite special. They're not common here. I just assumed it was Wahlberg's because it was pale and flipped up onto the branch. That's a pale form Tawny, everybody. Not common around here. I'm not going to stay with it. We're going to carry on simply because the light is not great for the bird, but for the leopard it's perfect. That's very cool. There's the leopard in front of us. He's calling again. This is exactly where Hosana and Shongile were, and I couldn't find them. I'm kind of hoping he won't find them either. But his nose far stronger than mine. Yeah, look at him. This is the pile of dung they were lying in this morning. Right here. That's where Jamie found Shongile, in that pile of dung there. That's what he can smell. Using his organ of Jacobson to interpret exactly what's going on. If you don't know what I mean, what he's doing is he's opening up the tract at the top of his palate that goes into the vomeronasal organ. And those two little cubs were playing in that pile of dung. And now he's saying, well, this ain't going to smell like any leopard but one. Now we'll try and smell buttered popcorn. Do you smell buttered popcorn, Craig? No, I don't either. No, Chris, I absolutely don't think that, but at the same time I don't think he poses any harm to them. You want to know if I think the cubs would be silly enough to come running out to greet him. Well, that'd be quite fun if they did, don't you think? If they had a sort of dads and kids reunion. And of course the reason we think that would be quite fun is because it's what we would like to see as human beings. They're not going to do that. They've heard him coming all the way up the road and they will be staying hidden. He might find them. I suspect that they're wily enough now, however, to stay away. What's he looking at? But I don't think that he'd necessarily harm them. I know that he has eaten a female leopard not too distant past, but we have seen him and Karula and the two cubs sharing a kill. So I don't think he necessarily poses a threat to little Shongalai or Hosanar. And I'm just checking up into that tree that Brent saw them in on his way past. Not 5 minutes before we got there and they disappeared. And nobody else is coming to our sighting. Isn't that special? See if I can just sneak through here. Hold on everybody, it's going to be a little bit rough. But it will get you his best angle, which of course I believe to be his face, not his bottom. He's also looking in the area where I was looking earlier for the cubs. Here he comes. Michael, you say if he's not likely to be a threat to them, why do I not want them to find each other? Well, Michael, simply because I don't know that he's not going to be a threat to them, especially as their mother isn't around. So it's not clear to me what would happen. And I think rather safe than sorry, right? Oh, this does make me very happy, I must say. I do like this fellow. And I know that many of you were very shocked when the information came through that he'd killed a female leopard and eaten it. Who knows why he did that? Well, I'm sure it must have lessened the affection that some of you have for him. It certainly made me a little bit more reticent about his character, but I guess that he had his reasons. Marking his territory. This is an odd time of the day for a leopard to be marking. Oh, look at the grass, the colours on the grass there if we can, Craig. There we go. The colours on there. You know what? That is a very buttered popcorn smell. Did you get that, Craig? He says not so much. Now, I'm definitely getting a bit of buttered popcorn there. Okay, I'll give you buttered popcorn. That was the cat's tail Parotis patens grass that looks so beautiful in this light. There it is. I'm just hoping he didn't wee on this particular piece, because I guarantee it won't taste like buttered popcorn. Hello, fellow. He's also marking territory kind of in the middle of his territory. You know, this isn't a boundary he's on. And of course he will advertise his presence as much as Karula will to her, if he smelt that she might be in estrus. There is the rattling testicular calling. I was following their calls around this area earlier on today while looking for Shongile and Hosana. Now he's going down into this drainage line where he will be almost entirely impossible to follow, I think. There he goes, Craig. We'll follow parallel with him. There is no road the other side, though. carry on a bit. Right, well, we try and see if we can't find him again and see where he's going. Apparently Tristan has found his afternoon tea.
Yes, James, indeed we have. We've found a white berry bush that is absolutely packed with berries at the moment. So the perfect time to stop for an afternoon tea. We have a beautiful sunset that's starting to happen. The weather's getting nice and cool, and Jean-Ray, myself and Herbie are absolute fans of the white berry bush, and so we've stumbled upon a bit of a gold mine here. The reason that it is a bit of a gold mine is probably due to the fact that most of these berries are not ripe. You will see that most of them have a greenish tinge to them, so that means that they're not quite ready to eat yet, but there are a few very plump white ones on here, and those plump white ones are absolutely delicious. So we have been munching our way through this bush. We've been grabbing them and tasting them, and they are absolutely sweet. So they're beautiful tasting berries, and so this is a little gold mine for us, and all of us have just been easing our hunger after walking on one of these. Now, the berries are obviously a really good food source for this plant, but they're not necessarily the only use for it. We will actually sometimes use this plant for other things, and so Herbie and I were actually discussing it, and what they use it for mostly is that they'll take the roots, they'll chop the roots up, putting it in water, and from there they will then boil that water. They then take the roots out and they drink the water, and apparently it helps with the blood circulation as well as treats bilharzia. Now, for those of you who don't know what bilharzia is a waterborne disease brought about by snails in water, and so it helps just to treat that. It's actually a really big problem in Africa. Bilharzia is one of those things that comes through a lot of people drinking water that's not been filtered or treated correctly, and so they drink stagnant water and then they get it, or they cook with it and they get it. So good plant to have in the middle of Africa, particularly in the more rural sections. And the other thing that you can use it for is if you have a branch like this. I'll try and just break it for you quickly. Alright, you can see that it breaks with quite a big crack, and when you pull it off, it is actually very dry. Now, even in times of a lot of rain or a lot of moisture in the soil, most trees out here will be really full of moisture and be very difficult to utilize if you need to make a fire. Whereas these guys, even when they are growing like this with leaves and full of fruit, they're actually still able to be used for fire, and so this is a great way to start a fire. You pack a whole bunch of these little branches on, and then you use a bit of elephant dung underneath that, light it, and the fire will then burn. So a really useful plant to have out here. Herbie's also just pointed out for me something on the grass here, so I just want to go in and have a little look. It looks very much like two robber flies by the looks of it that are actually busy mating. So at the moment we have a lot of this. You can see them there, they're connected at the back end, and so they will be busy breeding right now. Like I say, in this time of the year, so many of these insects are breeding. We've stumbled upon quite a few different insects that have been breeding over the last few days, and so it's really quite cool to see. And they will stay like this for a while until they've finish the breeding process, and then they'll break apart and fly away. It's always the best time to try and get fast flying insects like this when they are in a state of breeding. They then sit rather still and don't move too much. So really nice to find that as well. And as I say that, they then get up and fly away, which is a really nice find from Herbie. Good spot. It just goes to show you that you've got to look high and low, and you've got to keep your eyes peeled, because there's something everywhere out here when you're walking.
She's still fast asleep. She stood up briefly, and the panicky squirrel dived into a hole, and then she went back to sleep. So it doesn't look like she's going to get moving before dark, and I think we're going to probably meander on, see what else we can find. Hopefully there's lots of other things that we'll see on our way back towards Djuma. I was really hoping she was going to get moving, but unfortunately not this time. Might have to come look for her bright and early tomorrow morning. Bye bye, madam. Not even a lift of the head as we start the car. She is extremely beautiful and extremely comfortable at this very moment. Okay, let's head back towards the road. Remember, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV if you've got any questions for us. Okay, well, it's been a wonderful afternoon so far, but let's go back to James, who's still hot on Tingana's tail.
I'm not sure how hot on his trail we are, but there are birds alarm calling in here. We did have him again. There are lots of birds now getting very cross, and he was coming straight towards the road where we are now. This particular drainage system, well, you kind of need a bulldozer to get into it, and so we didn't bother too much with bulldozing our way in. I'm going to drive a little bit through. Here he is. Oops. Sorry, we are sort of in your way, fellow. I apologise for that. Now he's going towards Treehouse Dam. There he goes. Ellen, a good question. You say, I mentioned that he might be able to smell that Karulas and estrus, and how close do they have to be for him to be able to smell that? The answer is not close at all. It's more a question of time. So when she passes through an area and marks her territory, if she is in estrus, what she will do is urinate, and that will leave a scent, or there will be pheromones and hormones in her urine that signal to him that she's in estrus, and it's just a question of whether or not he gets there before that scent wears off. I'm not sure what that sort of timing is. Last station, who are you calling? Let's just go around the corner here. Brent's on Cheetah Plains. Now he's walking along the drainage. He's going to end up at Treehouse Dam for sundowners. That's what he wants to do. Whether he'll go the other side of this drainage or down the middle of it, I don't know. We're going to go along to this easily accessible spot, and a spot that I know those cubs like to sort of lurk when they can. It's just over here. Now, John, you want to know how long I think, and you very kindly said, in my expert opinion, I think that he's going to be dominant in this area for. John, I think that he is in his prime. Male leopards, however, start to lose condition fairly quickly after their sort of 11th birthdays, or by 14 would be... Going to sneak into the drainage. I don't see him, but it's definitely going to be worth waiting here, I think. He may pop out straight onto the road there in front of us. I hope I haven't picked the wrong direction. Now I can hear the birds calling now. He's along here somewhere. Let's just go a little bit along this way. It's funny how the thrill of seeing a cat like this just never wears thin. I don't really know why that is. I'm sure you all feel exactly the same. Okay, let's turn off here and have a listen. Definitely some alarming. Quite a lot of alarming in front. I think he's... Sounds to me like he could have gone out onto the road. I may have picked the wrong side of the drainage. Definitely some angriness in front of us. I'm half tempted to wait and half tempted to go across to the other side. But you cannot cross this drainage unless you go back around. Alright, let's head across to Tristan. He's going to say goodbye to you for the evening. So while we look for the leopard, go and say goodbye to Tristan, and I'll see you shortly.
Welcome back, everybody. And there's been the most pleasant sunset, so I've climbed this massive termite mound to try and get a really good view of it. It is an absolutely beautiful view from up here. We've got those clouds where the sun is just poking through, and it is the absolute perfect time of the day. Unfortunately though, for walk it's not the best, so we're going to start heading back to camp so that we don't get eaten by any nasties before it gets too dark. But it's been an absolutely beautiful afternoon. We've really enjoyed having you, myself, Herbie and Jandre. We've had a
For me, you know, when the leopards and all the animals stop like this, their ears are such a massively important part of what they do out here. And so it's important, I think, that when they stop, we quickly turn off so that they can hear what's happening. I did pick the wrong side, I'm afraid. I still think he's going to fetch up at Treehouse Dam. It's not far. Alright, let's carry on. Let's quickly do a 180-degree flip. Now, I was going to go off to that hyena den that Tristan found today to see Gwendoline. Could somebody please tell me who called her Gwen? I don't remember that. That's quite cool. And very exciting. For those of you who weren't watching this morning, Tristan went along to the he followed a hyena to the old hyena den on the junction of Gowrie Main Road and the Cheetah Cut Line, which is the far southeast of Djuma. And there he found her in a hole. She went into a hole. She may have given birth already. If not, she seems to be about to. And so we probably will have a hyena den very soon again. I didn't go there because this chap came along the road and I haven't seen him for a long time. Now, Jackie, a very good question from you, mainly because I was just reading about this today. You say, how big is the average leopard territory? Jackie, it depends if it's a male or a female. Research in this area says that a female's territory is between 18 and 28 square kilometers. Now, you can work that out in miles, or I can give it to you in hectares. That's 1,800 to 2,800 hectares. Now, I think he's going to pop along here. Is he? I'm just reticent to wait for him at the dam in case he turns off. Is that him in front of us? No. I can hear the birds alarming still, but he could easily turn off to the north and skip the dam entirely. Jackie, and then males about 3 times that size in this area. So 3 times 1,800 hectares. That's him on the ground there. Will probably get you to around about 36 plus 18, which is, of course, 54. So call it 54 square kilometers. There he is, right on the road in front of us. Hello, fellow. All the way up to roughly, well, almost 90 square kilometers. That's 9,000 hectares. You can do the imperial calculations yourselves, I'm afraid. I can't do that all. It's too much maths. 9,000 times 2.4, I'll do it for you. It's a roughly 18,000, say 22,000 odd acres for a big male leopard territory in this area. Small male leopard territory in this area would be 54 times 2.4. Say, call it 12 to 15,000 acres, and a female a third of that. So 5,000 acres, all the way up to about 8,000 acres. Now, Karula has a territory that encompasses Djuma, the northern parts, which is 1,200 hectares. Yes, she does. You heard me say her name, didn't you? So 1,200 plus probably about, I'm going to say 300 of Little Gari and 300 or so of Buffelshoek. Hook. So she's got a territory of about 1,800 hectares, which is about what we would predict. Oh, he's very close. The desire to reach out and touch him is too much. Sorry, I wedged him, unfortunately. I didn't wedge him, but he got a little bit wedged between us and a stump. I didn't see that stump there. The other thing I read today, because I really struggle to tell the difference between male and female leopard calling, and some will say, oh, well, that was a male calling. Oh, that was a female calling. I really struggle, but I read today that the male's call is normally shorter than the female, so it has fewer saws. So he does 5. I've counted him 3 times now. He does 5. He goes a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and then he shuts up. Now apparently a leopardess will go for longer than that. So the next time we hear Karula call, let's listen out for that. I think next to each other you'd probably recognize the difference, because I think the male is louder. I hope he's still on the road. Yes, he is. Isn't it funny how they like to walk on the road? They don't like to walk through the grass and get their eyes full of grass seeds and that sort of thing. Obviously they don't. I can smell the popcorn again. Not on this grass stalk. Straight to the dam for sundowners. I mean, brilliant idea. He's got an eye for the aesthetic. There's our Tingana. He's just marking his territory there. St. Andrews Junior High School, grade 8, watching this show. I will tell you what this leopard's name is if you tell me where in the world you're watching from. It's wonderful. Now you have to tell me where you are, and then I will tell you how to spell it. Really cool having kids watching us. Please send through as many questions as you like, chaps. It's always good to have young conservation minds learning about and enjoying the wilderness with us. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He did 9 there. So, not going to be quite as easy to tell. Right, he's now heading due north through this block back towards Philemon's cut line. Now, St Andrews Junior High will obviously tell you how to spell the name regardless of where you are in the world. It just would be very nice. It's spelled Tingana. 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 And it means the shy one. Well, he ain't shy, this chap, but I think he was when he was a youngster. Carry on around here. I'm going to cruise around this side quickly. Watch out, everybody. Watch your heads. Careful, careful. Okay, we're going to see if we can keep up with this leopard. I'm pretty sure we will be able to, and when he comes out in the clearings, hopefully we'll have him again.
This hyena den has never been active, so this is the first time since I've been here that this den's been used, so quite exciting. And it is a beautiful evening, and I'm very much looking forward to the cub's birthday on the 2nd of February. Of course, Hosanna and Shangile turn 1. So we'll have a little soiree for them. And it's always, I'm always amazed at the differences in the seasons, and it's so easy to forget how dry it was not that long ago when you just look at how lush and green it is at the moment. Now, I haven't been down along Cheetah Cutline for a while, so bit of a patrol, see what's happening. Also just some other updates for everyone. 2 Birmingham boys were found inside the Kruger, but so they were visible from the boundary, but inside the Kruger opposite Torchwood. So maybe they'll be up on the march this evening and heading this way. Of course, there's a pride of lions that spends a lot of time in the Kruger that they also dominate over, called the Torchwood Pride. I wouldn't mind some late afternoon elephants. Right. Hasn't seemed to be a lot of elephant activity on Djuma. There's been quite a bit more on Cheetah Plains. Hi Samuel, who's from Washington DC and a new viewer, and Samuel says, how are you guys not getting attacked? Aren't all these animals supposed to be very dangerous? Well, they are if you don't know what you're doing, Samuel, but fortunately all of us have lots of experience in the bush. But also a lot of these animals have grown up around the safari vehicles, and a safari vehicle has only been around for 100 or so years. Oh, hello. And a pretty sky and a pretty kudu. So the animals do not have an instinctive response to the safari. Things we drive carefully and respectfully, they tend to ignore us, as that kudu's doing. There's another one on top of the termite mound. I'm just going to go forward slightly. There's quite a lovely sky behind them. Here we go. 2 kudus atop a termite mound. Oh, you hear that? There's an upset elephant somewhere close by, but unfortunately not within our traverse. That sounded like a young elephant had been given a hiding by an adult. But it sounded quite deep inside Torchwood, so we'll continue on. Now it's going to be interesting as Hosanna and Shongile get older to see where they sort of settle, especially when they become independent of their mother. And this area was an area where we used to see Quarantine and Kunyuma a lot after they became independent from their mother. And I am hoping that Shongile takes up the majority of sort of this northern section from Karula and sets herself up as our dominant female in the northeastern sections of Djuma. Now, not too far from where we are here, but somewhere around here is basically the Tundi Karula boundary. So just inside Torchwood, this is still Karula's territory. And of course, as sad as it must be, Hosanna will have to move away to find his own area when he's a bit older. Fortunately, I think we've still got a good 1.5 to 2 years of enjoying young Hosanna at least. But hopefully, Shongile will hang around for even longer. Sorry, I just heard over the Game Drive radio that there was lion audio, and I'm just trying to hear where it is. I think I must have missed it. Let's see if I can hear what's going on. It could be very far away. Wonder where the incredible Inkahumas are. I think they're still enjoying the southern Manyaleti. Now, Lauren is wondering, is it possible for it to have multiple litters at the same time? It's possible, but just very unlikely, because the current litter, say, example, Hosanna and Shongile, if they're not independent, there's a very strong possibility they would kill the new cubs. So it doesn't, I haven't heard of it happening. It is in theory and physically possible, but I've never seen it in my years in the bush. Now, moving up towards this area, this is probably the most southern section that we've ever seen Djuma, the ghost leopard, the male leopard from the north, who's quite skittish. It was actually just up ahead. Viam, you were with me, yeah, that's right, when we spent a couple of days habituating that unrelaxed male leopard when he had a kudu kill. A young kudu kill. That was really exciting, and I haven't seen him since. I would really love to spend a bit more time relaxing that big male, because I think he is quite wonderful. One must realize there's a lot of leopards probably to the north of us, to the east of us, that we don't see too often. Or don't see at all, and some of them are really skittish, coming out of areas where there's not a lot of game drives around, and it does take a bit of work to get those animals nice and relaxed around the vehicles. Now, one of those leopards that came into this area as a very skittish male was Tingana. So let's go see, and you can see how wonderfully relaxed he is now. James is still with him, so let's go have a look.
He's in there, I promise you everybody, he's a leopard in the grass. Isn't that cool? I think that's just wonderful. I quite like the fact that we can't really see him there. He's about to come out onto Philemon's cut line, and he might take us all the way home, you know. He might go all the way onto Quarantine. David, you're in Napa and you want to know if a dominant male and a dominant female would share territory. Well, they have to, because the male has the territory over that will encompass 3 or 4 female territories. So yes, they absolutely share territory, but his is much bigger than hers. Seems a bit unfair, doesn't it, in these days of emancipation, etc. Oops, a couple of elephant debris over here. I keep promising I'm not going to lose sight of him again, and then I get distracted by bushes and we lose him. I can't see him. Apparently he's right in front of me to the left. You got him? Ah, there he is. Let's film him. Oh, that's marvellous. He spent a good long time with us, this fellow, today. He's been eyeballing Craig for some time. Wonderful. There he goes. The road is just up ahead. I'm reticent to move towards it though. I don't want to lose him again. But we're going to have to. Alright. Maybe we should just follow him. Let's just follow him. We're just skipping the old hyena den. Oh no, okay, he's gone quite a long way further east of where I expected him to be. And what he's listening to is some babblers alarm calling quite a distance from here. This is an unusual territorial patrol. It's simply because it's been in broad daylight. It hasn't kind of encompassed his territorial boundaries at all. I'm just going to let him get up, and there's some monkeys calling away there. That's what he's listening to. Fighting with each other. And I'm not going to move just yet. Let's just see if he calls again. It's almost like he circled the block where those cubs are. He circled the whole area where he thinks maybe Karula is. And you can just hear the night now starting to fall. Now, while he's lying there, just let me remind you, of course, tomorrow, sunrise safaris are going to be from 5:30 to 8:30, so they're moving half an hour later. The evening safaris will stay the same. As you can see, we're only about 5 minutes from the end, and we still have good light. But you've also noticed, of course, how we've been starting at 5 in the morning and it's been pretty dark, which is not good for tracking. Now, Elaine, you say it was mentioned yesterday that there's a fireside chat. There is going to be a fireside chat on Thursday. That, of course, is the birthday of his latest offspring, and we're going to be celebrating their first birthday at a fireside chat for 15 minutes on Thursday's sunset safari. He's now gone back the way he came. This is very interesting behavior. So basically what he did, if I can draw you a map in the air. He came down the Gowrie Main Road, he turned up Twin Dams, then he went all the way along Elephant Carcass to Treehouse Dam. He came north again. He's come back onto a road here. Remember the drainage line that he crossed in front of us? That was on this road just further down, and now he's heading straight back towards that area. That's very odd. I think he's looking for Karula. This is not a boundary patrol that he's doing. He's advertising his presence so that she can find him as well. All the birds alarming at him, and he's lifting his tail. It's not like looks like he's just eaten either. I mean, he looks pretty much like he could do with a meal, but he's not hunting. He's looking for ladies. There we are. Jamie K, you're a new viewer all the way from Pennsylvania. Lovely to have you with us, and you're interested in why it is so difficult for a leopard to reach adulthood. Jamie, it's because, well, life out here is a little bit Hobbesian. In other words, it can be fairly nasty, brutish, and short. There are just a huge number of dangers, ranging from unrelated male leopards. They kill, in some areas, up to 80% of the leopard cubs that die. There are lions, there are hyenas, there are wild dogs, there is starvation, there's the risk of injury to the mother, there are diseases sometimes, droughts, that sort of thing. So there are just a huge number of risks that all these leopards find very difficult to mitigate for. He's doing his phlegm and grimace again. He's sensed some other kind of, perhaps, scent of the female. So, Jamie, that's why, and it's apparently only one in 8, they say, will make it through to adulthood. There, he's definitely smelt something there. I wonder where the Queen is, perhaps seeking out her Prince Consort as we speak. I'll just put a little bit of light on him. He is a big male, so he won't mind. Does that help at all, Craig? Or not really? I pulled my earpiece out, Rebecca. Sorry, hang on 1 second. Go again with that massage. Right, let's carry on. We will try and follow him in there. He's now heading towards Ingwe Alley, which is that road the other side of this big drainage line. I'm not sure we'll get through it down here, but we'll try. Yes, I think you're absolutely right, Curious One. You're saying Tingana is showing us all of Karula's secret disappearing tunnels. I think you're absolutely correct. We've seen Karula and the cubs in this area a lot over the last year. He's looking, see, sniffing, listening all the time, and I think he reckons he's pretty close, but not close enough to keep going. He might call now. I will try and get around the front of him quickly. I know we don't have long. One tries not to make too much noise, but when the elephants have just been through a drought, they've left such debris all over the place. Okay, we're very close now, so we're going to try and be nice and quiet. Any further and we're going to run over a very large thicket. Hello, fella. He always looks so harmless when he looks in our eyes like that, when he closes his mouth and kind of looks up. There ain't nothing harmless about this animal. Cicadas all around. See, he's listening all the time. Now, I said he wasn't hunting, but if he did find something around here that walked into his path by mistake, he'd almost certainly smash it. Ooh. There. Listen. That is the contact call of another leopard. Look where he's looking. Simon, you're wondering what time the Nat.Geo TV specials are. 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday evenings. That's 11 o'clock at night, Sunday evenings, Eastern Standard Time in the United States only, I'm afraid. I don't know if you get it in Canada. It's North America. Maybe in Canada, but I think it's only in the United States. All right, everybody. We wouldn't be able to follow him through this drainage line anyway. I'm going to turn very slowly to you and say thank you for coming on Drive with us. I'm sure it wasn't too much of a trial with all of the leopard action that we had here. So thanks a lot for coming and thanks for your questions. Thank you, Craig. Well done. Good effort. Big thanks to Brent, of course, and Tristan, and all the camera people involved, Rebecca in Final Control, Jerry in Final Control, and we will see you all tomorrow at 05:30. Don't forget. Bye-bye.